Thank you, Miss Tata. So good morning, everyone. So my name is Gianna Tresha Limaranto. So I am from Sanata Dharma University. So today I will be moderating the first presenters with entitled Local Culture Themed Flashcards as Supplementary Materials in Eagle Class.
Sorry, Miss Jen, it's not my title.
Oh, so Miss Sundari. Oh, okay. Sorry. Miss Nur Hafni Siregar.
Yes.
Okay. So, let me repeat. So, I will be the moderating for the first presenter entitled Developing Students Worksheet for English Language Teaching to cope with the 4C skills through project-based learning. So, that will be presented by Miss Nur Hafni Siregar.
Thank you, Miss Jan. Good morning, Excellencies, participants on this conference. Let me present my articles. So, firstly, I would like to introduce myself. You can call me Afni, and I come from University of Muslim Nusantara Al Wasliyah in Medan. So let me present my PowerPoint first. Okay, please let me know if you have seen my presentations. Okay. Well, Bapak Ibu, let me present the results of my research. So the title of my research is Developing Students' Worksheets for English Language Teachings to cope with the 4C skill through project-based learning. So I focus on project-based learning because we have known that recently our current issue, we should bring the teaching methodology in our classrooms related to problem-based learning and project-based learnings, because we believe that it will evoke or provoke the students' 4C skills. So the 4C skills is the first C is to help them to be more creative. The second C is to help the students to achieve the critical thinking. And of course, at the same time, we must push the students to be more collaborative and of course to be more communicative. So project-based learning and problem-based learning will bring the students to achieve these 4 skills, and we also call this as the 21st century life skill. All right, next slide. The abstracts of my research is that we have known that the ministries of educations push all of the stakeholders in educations to push the students to possess the 4C skill. It is creativity, critical thinking, collaborations, and communications. So based on the related literature study, it is strongly emphasized that PGBL worksheet will be able to encourage the students to reach the 4 skills. And also we must bring the technological pedagogical content knowledge, and we focus on how to bring the students to achieve the higher order thinking skills. So this research implemented, and we evaluate the design concepts and develop the PGBL into a student's worksheets. So we hope that the designed worksheet will bring the students to reach the 4Cs. So this is a kind of R&D research. So I can conclude that after I conducted all the research, we can conclude that the PGBL students' worksheets, I developed it by matching the criteria for the components of students' worksheet model, namely the model syntax, the social systems, the management reaction principles, support systems, instructional impacts and accompaniments, as well as other necessary instruments. So I'm sorry. I will go to the next slide. Well, my concentrations, actually, I'm dealing with how to develop the teacher professionalism. So I am what we call that, a kind of division in my university. I work on the program Pendidikan Profesi Guru. So the research areas related how to develop the students' professionalism. In this case, that's why we push our faculty member to do more research on research and development, because we have known that the main task of a teacher is to develop a well-planned lesson plan, and of course they know exactly how to practice that in a real classroom. So actually here the mind mapping, or the goal of my research, in this case I can conclude that we need to produce a product. We need to make sure the well-planned lesson plan, and we can do that by making research and development. So this is the step that we need to pay attention together in our institutions. This is related to the visions and the missions, and also one of the chunks of the umbrella, our RIP, Rencana Induk Penelitian, is to pay attention to the teachers' professionalisms. And the results of my research is to publish a book, and the book can be used by the teachers, particularly in English education department, to conduct teaching practice at the classroom by using project-based learning. So the research method I use here is R&D based on AD model. So we can see that we start from analysis, needs, requirements, tasks, participants, current capabilities, and then after that we have a reference, or we have basic to make a design. So we relate it to the learning objectives, delivery format, activities and exercises. And then after we make a first design, at first we will develop that to create a prototype, develop course material review, pilot sessions, and of course I pay attention to things that is project-based learning syntax, and also how to bring the theory of courses. So what kind of teaching methods surely will push the students' courses. And then next, in the second year, so this is the first years, in the second years, we will implement the design, and of course we will evaluate it. And after the course, we make some reflections, and we're trying our best to give the best product. Next. So, so the objectives of the research can be drawn through this mind mapping, and I will go directly to the results of the research. In these first years, I can show you four items. So this is the, okay, let me explain that. I give this in the results of my research. I give the results of the preliminary investigations of the BCBL-based students' worksheet design. and also the analysis of needs, and also the evaluations of the current English students worksheet so far in 5 locations. And I evaluate the English teachings and learning process too. So, and next, the pace of PGPL-based students worksheet designed to improve the POSI skill in English subjects. There are free trial results of preliminary investigations of learning tools analysis, and preliminary or revised investigations findings, and the results of learning device design. Now, I will, yes, the results of the preliminary investigations based on analysis of the needs of PGPL students' worksheet models, we can conclude that the average respondents answers that they really need analysis, the need analysis of PGPL students' worksheet model questionnaires, which is very much needed. And the evaluations of the current English students' worksheet. So based on the results of the evaluations of the English students' worksheets, the average respondent shows worksheets model received by students, group learning system with PowerPoint models, drama making, presentation, group and individual assignment, effective learning, and applicative and integrative worksheets. This is what currently used by the students in the school as the locations of my research. And I evaluate the English teaching and learning process. So here I can admit that we still have lack of facilities. Students have difficulty in English lessons and do not want to take English course outside of the class school hours. And of course, there is a low interest in learning English. And based on this true analysis, it can be concluded that development of the PGPL students' worksheet model is very much needed in learning English. So as subjects at senior high school where there are research locations. And the pace of PGPL-based student worksheet design, the free trial research, I carry out in SMA Negeri 3 Medan, SMA Negeri 1 Perbaungan, SMA Negeri 1 Angkola Barat, SMA Negeri 1 Meranti, and SMA Negeri 2 Lubuk Pakam. In general, I can give you conclusions that the students' abilities in English subjects can be improved by using various projects, real products, so as to provide a good learning experience for students, such as to train students to be able to solve various problems they face, train students' creative abilities in creating new things, train students to say and cooperate with others, and there are real products made by the students. And students are not used to carrying out the stage of PGPLs at the beginnings of the learning, so that students' activities look less active at the beginning of learning. Through the applications of the PGPL students' worksheet models in various project work products, these problems can be overcome. And yes, so I think I will go to the conclusion. So it was found that the project-based learning worksheet model had met the level of validity, practicality, and effectiveness to improve the POSI skill of senior high school students, which contains the syntax, the social systems, the principle of management, and so on. So we also create the learning implementations plan, teacher book, students book, participant worksheet, educate, and instructional impact in the form of student POSI skill, and accompaniment impact in the form of critical thinking, creative thinking, responsibility, openness, and understandings of concepts. PGPL students worksheet equipped with model book, learning implementation plan, teacher books, students books, and student worksheets that have met the level of validity, practicality, and effectiveness. And this is the results of my first year's research. And next year's I need to make an implementations and make evaluations, and of course reflections to produce the product we need in this research. Thank you so much for the attentions. I'm so sorry if I have mistakes in presenting my, or still incomplete. So thank you so much. I will give it back to the moderators, Ms. Jian. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nurhafni. And I think I give it back to Ms. Tata.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jan. All right, so thank you very much for the wonderful presentation, Ms. Nurhafni. Now let us move to the next presentation, which will be delivered by Ms. Jan and team and moderated by Ms. Sundari. We will have 15 minutes for the presentation. Time is yours.
Okay, am I audible, everyone?
Yes,
Okay.
Miss.
All right, baiklah. All right then, everyone. I think we are having the second presenter, which is Miss Jean, right? I hope I don't butcher your pronunciation. So Miss Jean will be sharing with us about her research under the title EFL Student Strategies to Overcome Their Listening Anxiety in Listening for Daily Context. So the screen is yours, Miss Jean.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sundari. So let me share my screen. Okay, so I hope that everyone can see my screen. All right, so yes. So in this opportunity, so I would like to present a study about EFL student strategies to overcome their listening anxiety in listening for daily context that are conducted by me and also Pak Consilianus Lawas Mbeto. All right, so so I would like to bring 4 points in this session. So the first one is the reason why this study was conducted, and also what methodology that this study was utilized, and also the result and discussion and the conclusions. So there are several reasons why this study was conducted. So the first one, we realized that students are demanded to master listening skill, as it is one of the important skills when they learn English. So as we know that listening comprehension might be considered as one of the most essential elements of verbal communications for EFL students, since it is a leader to develop their language when compared to all other types of English skills, namely reading, speaking, and writing. And as we know that Gilak Jenny and Sobori 2016, and also Kadayanto and Kori 2011 stated that listening skill has played a crucial role in assisting students to understand the spoken language in EFL classrooms. So it may indicate that in order to communicate with other people, students must first gain an understanding to comprehend the verbal communication that they listen to. But then, in fact, in the process of listening EFL context, students still encounter several problems in developing their listening anxiety, in developing their listening comprehensions, such as listening anxiety, self-confidence, fast speech rate, and phonological characteristics. So, however, most of the most of the studies have found that one of the major factors that the students experience is about listening anxiety. So they think that listening anxiety can influence the students influence EFL students academic performance. So students who might experience high anxiety in listening tend to impede their ability to implement the insight of language that they possess, that could lead them to experience a lack of listening comprehension in the learning process. So if we take a look at here, that there have been a number of studies investigating research on factors that cause listening comprehension anxiety. For example, from Aludia 2017, Darti and Asmawati 2017, Agustina 2019, and also Iftanti and Prasetyo 2021. So they found a main factor that could interfere students' comprehension listening. Students' comprehension in listening, which is lack of meaning interpretation. So participants in their study felt stressful and anxious when they couldn't interpret the meaning of each word of what the speaker said. So for instance, idiomatic expressions and complex grammatical structures. Therefore, these studies proposed the teachers to help the students to decrease their anxiety in listening by assisting them to practice more in listening activities. So regarding this problem, regarding the problem aforementioned above, the role of strategists become very essential to cope with the students' anxiety in comprehending the complex listening task. So there are main effective listening strategies, namely metacognitive, socio-affective strategies, and also cognitive strategies that could be used by the EFL students in order to help them to cope their anxiety in listening. So it shows that those strategies could further assist them in alleviating their listening comprehension anxiety. So the number of study has presented the factors contributing to students' anxiety in listening and a few of listening strategies. However, these studies hadn't obviously examined the other possible major factors that could contribute to students' high level of anxiety in listening daily context class and to propose useful strategies. Therefore, this study was conducted to explore EFL undergraduate students' listening anxiety and the effective strategies to overcome their worry and anxiety in the learning process. So this current study was worth conducting because of two reasons. So the first one, because the study utilized an in-depth method, because in an in-depth method of inquiry of the other possible factors, possible major causes influencing students' listening comprehension is still sparse. And the second one, the participants are students who take listening daily context class. Therefore, this study was worth conducting because of those two reasons. Okay, so let me move to the research questions. So there are two research questions that this study carry out. So the first one is what causes students' listening anxiety, and the second one is what effective strategies do they undertake to overcome. So to answer these two research questions, the study utilized a descriptive qualitative research to find students a point of view or perspective toward this phenomena. And this study, employed two types of instruments, as you can see here. The first one is open-ended questions, and the second one is semi-structured interviews. So during the process of interview, a semi-structured interview, the researchers have a tendency to be pliable in the manner of adapting new questions, if essential to raise and change the order of questions. So the purpose of being flexible in adapting and adjusting new questions during the interview, it helps the researchers to dig more detailed and comprehensive data from the participants' points of view. And then for the populations, so this current study involved 4 first semester students of Duta Wacana Christian University, and then the participants who take listening for daily context class of English language education study program from Duta Wacana Christian University with ages spanning 17 to 20 years old. Okay, and then talking about the data analysis, so this phase, the researchers transcribed the interview Zoom audio recordings in the Microsoft Word, and the transcriptions were managed, organized, coded, examined, analyzed, and interpreted to answer the research questions. Okay, so that one is about the methodology that this study was utilized, and then, right, so after we conducted this study, we found that there are two major themes that can cause EFL students listening anxiety and listening comprehensions. So the first one is internal factors might significantly increase students listening comprehension anxiety, and the second one is external factors might increase their listening anxiety. So let me explained about the result that this study found. So the first one is internal factors might significantly increase students' listening comprehensions. So it showed that 3 participants reported that they encountered several problems such as lack of cognitive ability, lack of motivation, and lack of focus of thinking that could increase their anxiety in listening. So for example, like Rico, he reported that he mostly experienced some cognitive ability problems such as insufficient vocabulary and unfamiliar accents, unfamiliar topics, and inability to predict what is possible, what is the possibility of the next questions. So Okay, so it makes him feel more anxious when he found this kind of problems. Meanwhile, in similar, there was a participant namely Yosa who reported that he sometimes kept finding the similar problems as Rico, Kinan, and Kaysar experiences, but those problems didn't become the major problems that influenced his listening comprehension anxiety. So you can see Yosa's excerpts here. So he reported that he felt anxious when he was unable to predict what is coming next, and he was afraid if he lost his concentrations of thinking of feasibility in the next questions. So it made him to feel confident with his ability. All right, and then this one is the second theme that this study found. So the first one is so the second result, or the second theme of this study, external factors might increase their listening anxiety. So it showed that all participants reported that they didn't only encounter listening linguistic features, but they also encountered several external factors, including environment noises, physical setting, and classroom environment. So you can see, for example, Yosa and Kinan, but I put it here only Yosa excerpt. So they reported that environment noises and physical settings were the greatest influential factor that might contribute to their listening and comprehension anxiety. Right, and then in order to answer what is it, this one is the answer for second research question. So effective strategies to solve students listening comprehension anxiety. So talking about this, there were two students, namely Kinan and Yosa. They admitted that they utilize several listening techniques, for example, like planning, monitoring, and evaluating to cope with their anxiety and make the learning more effective. So they admitted that these techniques are really useful for them in order to overcome their anxiety. Meanwhile, the other two participants, namely Kaysar and Rico, they also tended to utilize to comprehend the listening material started from the smallest section to the whole sections. So he acknowledged that in order to describe the in order to catch the information, they started to catch from the essential keywords and phrases and assemble the piece of information into the final message. All right, so this one is I come to the conclusions. So in conclusion, the finding of this current study revealed the significance of listening strategy used in overcoming EFL undergraduate students listening comprehension anxiety. So it showed that there are two main problems that the participants experience. So the first one is internal and the second one is external. And then concerning the findings information above, this study offers some pedagogical implications as follows. So the first one is teachers' role have to be reinforced in the process of listening activities, because we know that a teacher's role is very important in order to assist the students in alleviating their feeling of anxious and nervous when they found some difficulties in listening. And second, the teachers need to increase the students' motivation to help them feel more motivated and feel more confidence with their ability in increasing their listening skill. Despite the results and pedagogical implications, so the current study has intrinsic limitations. So the first one is because the study only involved a small number of participants, so it is suggested for further studies to carry out the similar study by involving a larger number of participants. And
1 minute left, Miss.
Okay, because this current study only carry out a single method, namely qualitative method. So this study is suggested to further study to carry out this the similar study by using a mixed method. So thank you, everyone. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Jian. You used the 15 minutes very effectively. I think I will let the operator to take over the session.
Okay, thank you, Miss Jan. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. Now let us move to the next presentation, which will be delivered by Miss Sundari and moderated by Miss Nur Hafni. And we have 15 minutes. Time is yours.
Okay. Okay, now we go on to the third presenter. Please welcome Ibu Miss Sundari Purwaningsi from Universitas Perjuangan Tasikmalaya, Indonesia, with the title local cultures, theme flashcards as supplementary materials in EFL classrooms. For Ms. Sundari, time is yours.
Ms. Sundari, excuse me, I think you are still muted.
Okay, I think I'm good now. Am I audible?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, but I think I'll repeat from the very beginning. Thank you very much, everyone, for being in this room. I really appreciate it. So let me share with you one or two things related to my research with the title Local Culture Themed Flashcards as Supplementary Materials in EFL Classroom. So I'm going to structure my presentations in 5 points. So the first one is the background, the research questions. It will be followed by the method, results, and also the conclusions and the recommendation. So let me start with the background. So yeah, English textbook for junior high schools in Indonesia do not come with supplementary materials. While we know that no textbook will ever be relevant to our teaching context or our learners' interests, so supplementary materials will always be necessary. And flashcards have been well known as one of supplementary materials EFL teachers utilize in their EFL classrooms with their many profound benefits as stated in the literature. Well, actually, we can also find abundant website providing teachers with ready-use flashcards so that teachers can take advantage of them. However, those with local culture themes are rather rare to find. On the other hand, many have shed light on how important it is to integrate local cultural elements in EFL classroom. So therefore, creating flashcards with local themes is necessary. So the study was aimed to answer these two questions. The first one is, what is the teacher's evaluation of the local culture themed flashcards after the implementation in EFL classroom? And the second one was, what are the EFL learners' attitudes towards the implementation of local culture themed flashcards in the EFL classroom? Well, the study was composed of two phases. The first phase was the development and the second phase was the implementation. And then the steps were as follows. The first one is the preparatory stage. So in this stage, it included the conceptualization and also the planning of the supplementary materials. Well, actually, initially, the flashcard games were developed as supplementary materials for K-13 English textbooks for junior high school students. So therefore, the first thing that the researcher did was to choose the chapter with the local themes and then look into the basic competence or the learning objectives. And the second one was the game development. So this stage included the design and the development of the flashcard games. The steps in game development was, first is the selection of the themes and also the terms of the themes in each book. And the second one is the card design. Well, actually, the card consists of the pictures and also the words. Well, in creating the flashcards, the researcher utilized or used what is that? A flashcard, an online flashcard maker, which is twinkle.com. And then as for the game rules, actually, one of the rules of the flashcard games was derived from the researcher childhood game. And the others were actually modified from the existing popular teaching technique, which is gallery walk. And the format of the rules actually was adapted from a website named Teach This. And after the game development, after the game rule, after the process of the design was completed, then the researcher asked for an expert to validate the flashcards. After the validation from the expert, then the researcher the researcher asked for help from an English teacher of junior high school to implement the flashcard games in grade 7, and then grade 8 and grade 9 students of junior high schools. And the last one was the evaluation. The evaluation here is from the teacher, and then the students were also asked to fill out a questionnaire to find out about their attitudes. So this is more or less the research participant instrument and also the data analysis. So to answer the first research questions, the instrument used was the evaluation form adapted from Odenweiler. It consisted of 23 items with 4-point rating scale. And then it is based on 7 criteria, which is aim, content, flashcard design, components organization, playability and playfulness, perceived usefulness of the flashcard games, and then perceived usefulness of the local culture content. So the English teacher was asked to evaluate the flashcard games based on this evaluation form. And then the data was then analyzed and interpreted based on the frequency distribution and also brief verbal interpretation. To answer the research questions number 2, questionnaire adapted from Xiao, consisting of 12 items with 4-point rating scale, was given to the students. So there are 2 criteria in the questionnaire. The first one is to find out the attitudes towards the cultural learning, and then the second one is the attitudes towards the flashcard games. So this study produced 3 flashcard games for grade 7, 1 for grade 7, and then 1 for grade 8, and another one for grade 9. So we, the researchers, named the flashcard games for grade 7 as Culture Flash High Five. So the aim of the flashcard game is to ask and answer questions about what people are wearing. And then for grade 8, the flashcard game was named Culture Flash Walk and Blog. And the aim of the games was to ask and answer questions about what people are doing. And the last one, we named the Culture Flashcards Walk, which is aimed to ask and answer questions about food and crafts in the present passive. So actually, somehow the flashcards look like this. Yeah, there you go. So we have the teacher's notes over there with the procedures, and this one is the pictures and also the words. This for grade 7, and this one is for grade 9, something like this. And this is for grade 9. There you go. Okay. So based on the validation from the expert, it can be concluded that the flashcard games were all very satisfactory. And then, okay, after the implementation of the flashcard games, this is the results of the evaluation from the teachers. So for grade 7, the teacher rated it as satisfactory, and for grade 9 and grade 8, the teacher rated it as very satisfactory. Okay. And these are the results of the questionnaire from the students seeking for their attitudes towards the cultural learning and also the flashcard games. As you can see, the majority of the students here were positive about the use of cultural learning in English class. The same can be said about the use of flashcard games. They were positive about, most of them, or the majority of the students were positive about the use of flashcard games in the English classroom. So these are the findings of the research. So the teacher finds the flashcard games in general to be very satisfactory as supplementary materials to help students practice listening and speaking in English. And then in the comment section, the teacher also opines that these flashcard games promote student-centered learning as they encourage student-student interaction. And then she also argues that the flashcard games benefit not only high-motivated students, but also low-motivated ones to participate in the learning process. And then the teacher herself learned new things related to Indonesian culture from the flashcards. So she believes that the local culture themes will help promote local culture literacy among students and raise students' awareness of different culture in Indonesia. And then from the questionnaires given to the students, it was found out that students were positive and receptive towards both the flashcard games and also the cultural learning. So the majority of the students agreed that Indonesian culture was important in their English learning. And then they were also satisfied. They were having fun with learning English with using the flashcards. Okay, let me come to the end of the slide. So because the flashcard games developed in this study received very satisfactory feedback from their users to facilitate learning, teachers should consider using it. So the positive findings of the study suggest that exposures to local culture content in FL classrooms should not be left unnoticed. Teachers might want to modify the rules so that the students can also play the game in a different manner, one that is possibly more playful and effective. And then these flashcard games can also be developed for other topics. And then a study on the effectiveness of the local culture theme flashcard games could also be made. So that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Sundari Purwaningsi. So I give it back to Ms. Tata. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sundari and Ms. Nurhafni. Now, we are entering the Q&A session for our presenters. Please mention your name, affiliation, and to whom the question is addressed and what the question is. And you can write your question in the chat box also. We have some questions in the chat box. Miss Jan and me, it is for Miss Jan. 2 questions. Can I read the question, Miss?
Okay, sure.
Okay, the first question. Any practicals, it is from Miss Anastasia from UKWMS. Miss Jan, any practical suggestions for teachers to help reduce students' listening anxiety? And then the second question, or you need to answer it first, or I read the second question?
You may read the second question.
It is from Fidelis Eleni from Mbak Jan. I would like to ask regarding the procedures on how you collect the data and how you get access to reach the participants. If I'm not mistaken, you choose UKDW students. I also would like to know your consideration in choosing the participants. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to answer Bu Sundari Purwaningsi questions. So I think the practical suggestion for teachers to help students to reduce their listening anxiety by validating their feelings. So before trying to solve the problem or before trying to solve their anxiety, so I think we as a teacher need to validate their feelings first, because a feeling of worry, feeling of nervous, is something that that takes a little bit longer time to solve. So in order to before to solve the problem, we need to help the students to feel relaxed, to develop their trust and feel understood. So by validating their feeling, it helps them to be more to be more relaxed and to help them develop their trust. And after they have, after we have validated their feeling, we can offer some helps. So for example, like we can do like personal approach to the students so that they so they will not feel more anxious, or they will not feel too anxious when they do something related to complex listening tasks. So I think that's related to the practical suggestion for teachers to help the students to reduce their listening anxiety. And then, all right, so the next one I would respond to Mbak Ellen's questions. So regarding to the procedure on how I collect the data and how I get access to the, to reach the participants. So basically, as I have mentioned before, that the study involved 2 stages of collecting data, namely open-ended questions and also semi-structured interviews. So in open-ended questions, I conducted in the first phase, and then it was made in the Google Forms, and it distributed to the participants that have been selected by the lecturers. So this purpose of conducting this kind of phases in order to acquire inclusive data to hold up the major instrument, which is in the second phase. And then to be more details, they were for they were for questions that I delivered to the participants in order to get the more comprehensive data. And then after that, after obtaining the participants' response, I conducted the semi-structured interviews. So the participants were contacted by the researchers personally through WhatsApp, and then to organize and to arrange the interview settings. So for example, like including the date, including the time, and including the procedure of the interview, and then and including the setting of the interview meetings. And then the participants were sent a Zoom link, and then explain the purpose of doing this research that they involved. And then after that, they were asked several questions, guideline question that have been created by me. And then after that, I also use the follow-up further questions if necessary to dig some comprehensive data. So I think that's how I collect the data. And then for how do I get access to reach the participants? So first of all, I think that ethical consideration in the research is very important. So the ethical considerations were conducted by me. So in the first step of conducting the study, I distributed informed consent form to obtain the participants' consent in participating in the study. So if they agree to participate in the study, so they can simply give the response, or they can simply give their signature in the consent form. However, if they disagree in involving in the study or to participate in the study, they can also simply ignore it, for example, like that. Okay, so I think that's how or the process how I get access to the participants. Okay, so I think I have answered all of the question, yeah? Okay.
Okay, Miss, I think we have one more question for you. It is from Miss Sundari. What do you think should be the main considerations in choosing the audio materials to help students lessen their anxiety?
All right. Okay, so based on my experience during my teaching process, the main consideration in choosing the audio materials, especially when I teach TOEFL, is that try to think about the students' needs and also the students' capability. So for example, when I teach TOEFL, I try to classify from the basic audio material So from the basic, I mean, like from the easiest one to the hardest one. So I try to classify, for example, like topic 1, topic 3, or skill 1, skill 1, skill 2, skill 3. What is it? In order to help them to understand the basic listening, and after that, and then start from this one, I help them to what is it, to move to the hardest one. So I think the main considerations is try to think about your students' needs and your students what is it, can be the students' wants, what is it, in order to, and also the students' capability, in order to help them to lessen their anxiety. So I think that's all, yeah. Okay, thank you very much for the questions.
Okay, Ms. Jan, thank you for answering all of the question. And for all the participants, I think you may ask the question directly by open your mic and then mention your name, affiliation, to whom the question is addressed, and what the question is. Or maybe it's not only for question, maybe all the participants have another opinion or want to share. Okay, Miss Jan, I think, may I ask one question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Miss, I want to know about what are interesting thing you found when you are doing this research. You are with Mr. Cons, right?
Right.
Okay, maybe Mr. Cons can share your interesting thing also.
You want me to speak?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm actually here to support Jean. Jean is actually one of the master students in my class. I think you need to consider learning as a complex undertaking, a complex activity. So when it comes to listening, speaking, reading, and writing, there is no easy solution. So for example, do you experience anxiety in listening? Of course, there can be many factors. Yeah, Jean has already pointed out that they can be internal, they can be external. So, for example, some of the students might be, by nature, an anxious person by nature. Another thing is that they might have experienced some difficulties or some failures in learning. Sources of anxiety can also come from the fact that maybe students' language ability is still not very good. So when the listening task is too difficult, they become anxious. So that's why there's a question just now. In choosing the listening materials, teachers need to consider the level of the student's English. For example, if it is too difficult, if it is too high, it might pose anxiety to students. Hear me? So, for example, if you are familiar with Krashen input hypothesis, it means N+1. N+1 means you need to know the level of your students, and then you just teach the materials one level higher than the level of the students. That means that you need to do what we call differentiated teaching. So it's best for you to prepare different materials for different students, because students might actually have different abilities. So you cannot just choose the same material for all the students. So for example, when you come to the listening class, you might provide different materials for students to engage in the learning process. Also, another important thing is actually to focus on developing what we call self-efficacy. Yeah? Jane mentioned confidence. So students need to believe that they have the skills to be able to succeed. So self-efficacy means self-confidence. And then focus on success, don't focus on failure. it's very easy for teachers to focus on students' failures. We need to help our students to focus on what they can do better today. Yeah, what they can do better today that they couldn't do yesterday. So that means that we need to focus on what they are able to do rather than on what they are unable to do. This will boost their confidence. This will boost their motivation. So in my research, I say that when we focus on success rather than on failures, students will gain more success. The same is true in listening and in other kind of learning, okay? All right, and then exposure, and then teach students strategies, yeah? Listening strategies, don't just play the audio materials, teach them some strategies. How to listen better, how to become proactive in listening is better. So research shows that becoming strategic is one of the reasons why some students are more successful than others, okay? So becoming more strategic learners. All right, thank you. Is it enough?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the insightful information from you. And then for Miss Nurhafni and Miss Sundari, maybe you want to share about your interesting thing you found, because we still have 4 minutes here. Okay. Oh, I think that's all. Or maybe all the presenters want to share anything that you found when you do this research.
Okay. There are many questions to Bu Jayan, yeah, because that is a very interesting topic about anxiety. But as far as I concerns, anxiety is something related to negativity, Bu Jayan. So anxiety is something negative. It means that we should overcome anxiety. Everyone should overcome that, Bu Jayan. Is it so, Bu Jayan? Do you agree with me?
Yes, I guess so.
So do you have a recommended program to reduce anxiety for general reasons? It's not for only when you're listening to speaking and when you're doing public speaking, but about for a human quality, for example, or how we will avoid mistakes in doing something related to anxiety, because there will be miscoordination, attention, salah tindak if you have a very bad anxiety. Do you have any recommended program, Miss, to reduce anxiety?
Okay, so as far as I know, how we can reduce anxiety in speaking. So there is an application that I always try to use. So the name of the application is about I forgot. Let me check. If I'm not mistaken, is this speaking, if I'm not mistaken. So the application is used to help us speak, and then the application will give us like some feedbacks. So before, for example, like before I do like public speaking or presentations, I try to use that application in order to know how fluent I am and how capable I am in speaking. So I think by knowing how capable I am in speaking or how fluent I am in speaking, it helps me to reduce my anxiety. So I think if what is it, you want to reduce your anxiety in speaking, you can use another application that can give you some feedbacks. What is it? And introducing your what is it, anxiety in learning English. So I think that's all.
All right. Yes, thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Nurhafni and Miss Jan. Now we are now the time is already up. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have finished our parallel session. After this, please kindly leave this breakout room and return to the main room for this plenary session. And thank you very much for the fruitful discussion and have a great day.